redoing one of my old videos. Now, there are completely different cars. It's kind of a series at this point, but we are doing surprisingly weird versions of everyday cars too. Now, this is just sprung from over the past few months. I've been getting more into cars ever since I've started this YouTube channel, expanding my area of expertise, and I have found some surprisingly weird ones. Now, usually a few of the ones on this list aren't specifically trim levels, weird actual trim level versions, but more so, I can't believe that they did that, you know what I mean? And there's only really one that doesn't really fit with the rest. That's a little bit more boring than the rest, but I think you'll get why it's on this list. So we're going to do that one first. The V6 engine, the Toyota V6 engine. Fast, nice, economical, and it's usually in bigger Toyota vehicles, right? In a Camry, it makes the Camry feel fast. They're usually stock on the Avalons, right? We know Toyota V6, a good car, right? A third row, a very decent third row. Great for families, fantastic. Everyone could use a third row in their car, in my opinion. And four-wheel drive. Four things that often don't go together. The third row is usually on family crossovers nowadays, or mainly minivans, and a lot of times those are only front-wheel drive. A V6 engine can be paired with a minivan a lot of times, but oftentimes it just has a V4 with a turbocharger nowadays, with Kia and Toyota and Honda. Except for Honda, they have a V6. So these things don't really fit together. And another thing, so we've already got three things that don't fit together, and I'm just going to put a hammer in the gears here. A Toyota RAV4. The V6, first of all, look at why none of this fits. The V6 engine doesn't work. It's called the RAV4 in that it has 4 cylinders. So putting a V6 in one would be weird. The Toyota RAV4, at least the modern ones, are all-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive, which means that the four-wheel drive would be better off-roading. But still, it doesn't mix with the RAV4, and the RAV4 is a small car, which means it doesn't have a good third row. But believe it or not, Toyota, this is a Toyota RAV4 with a third row, a V6, and four-wheel drive. Can you believe that? Can you absolutely believe that? I made it. V6, Toyota RAV4, four-wheel drive, third row. Can you believe that? It's just so shocking to me, because the first time I heard one of these, Toyota RAV4 and V6, that's already great. I already knew they had a V6, but, that was great. Four-wheel drive, rather than the more popular all-wheel drive popularized by Subaru, right? That was already a big kicker, and a third row, doggone it. I would buy one of these, but I'm more infatuated with the next car on this list, which is a Honda Element. Now, when you think of a Honda Element, you don't think of fast sportiness, right? And again, I don't like a lot of fast cars. I don't like a lot of enthusiast cars. So no wonder I love the Element so much, right? So when you think of the Element, you don't think of fast, sporty car. It's very blocky. It's very blobby. By the way, I'm closing on one, so that should be nice. I found, it took a while because they had some orange ones in my area. I wanted one of these, the gray 2005 with the paneling. I'm going to have to do some airbag switch rounds because it's got a big airbag issue. Anyway, when you think of one of these, you don't really think of sportiness or fastness or looks. Because I love the Element, and I will defend the Element to the day that I die, but one thing you don't think of when you see Element is pretty. I mean, it's not ugly, but it's no extremely good looker there, right? It's very egregious in its styling. And yet, when I was shopping for a Honda Element, because winter's coming up, why not? I have some money to blow, why not? New job. Pays better. I came across one of these, a Honda Element SC. Now, the SC stands for Style Concept, and these came out around, I believe, 2007 was the year that this model came out, and it's ridiculous. First of all, you have a body kit, and now, the body kit isn't so much adding things as it is removing the grosser styling and adding more streamlined design. I'm just so surprised that this happened. Now, this was only available on the second generation. Well, facelift, right? The first generation, which is the one that I'm buying, has the grille there and the classic design. The second generation is more laid back like this with the tusks, like I like to call them, right? The SC was only ever available, from what I can tell, on the facelifted version. And it's just so weird. I mean, look at the wheels. These wheels resemble more of a Honda performance vehicle than an Element. And you can see the rest of the vehicle is just so absolute weird. You have no plastic body cladding, and you even have a red interior with an automatic transmission, which kind of defeats the purpose. But yeah, all black interior, which is not something that Honda does, right? They usually like to put a little gray in there, make it look a little bit bigger. Lighter colors make spaces look bigger. That's why smaller houses are always painted white or gray, especially apartments. All black interior with red accents. We all know Honda, we all love Honda, and yet Honda is the most boring car company ever. My family's 2007 Odyssey, there was not a single thing in that car that was not beige. The same color of beige. And yet they made this. black interior, red accents, that's actually the standard version, and a body kit. Ridiculous. I don't understand why they would do this. I love it though, but I still love the stock one just a little bit more. Now, there are 2 Volvos coming up. Now, okay, I get it. Volvos are not necessarily a car company that I mention all that much on this channel, even though I love them. Because Volvos aren't insanely popular, and I feel like I could be giving my viewers a better experience by talking about more popularized brands. And yet they're on here twice. Because Volvo is nuts. They do the craziest things with their cars in the R design department. It's ridiculous. The Volvo V50, Volvo's smallest wagon from around 2004 to 2011 when it was discontinued, right? The small family-like wagon, right? Alloy wheels, cloth interior, budget Volvo. That's what they were going for. And yet they had the fantastic idea. By the way, this car is already weird in its own thing because it has a inline 5 engine. They also had a V5 engine, which was redonkulous. But yeah, inline 5. And they gave it all-wheel drive and made an R-Design version. Isn't that nuts? An R-Design Volvo all-wheel drive with a 5-cylinder engine. Not 4, 5 cylinders. It's just so crazy. From what I can tell, these things are great on the track, and because they're so minivan-like, with such a well-tuned, and because if there's one thing Volvo's good at, it's tuning. They've always been good at tuning. They've always been good with their R-Design models at squeezing that extra drops of power out of their smaller engines. This is no exception. I've heard these are incredibly fun, and that all-wheel drive does not mess around, right? Amazing, extremely fun car. The second Volvo on this list is Volvo's smallest wagon from 2014 and onward, the V60. Now, we all love the V60, but it is kind of boring. Now, you have the R-Design, a very fun Volvo, but other than that, the car, there's not a whole lot of flavor, unless it's an R-Design, right? It's your average, everyday, I love how they protect their images, your average, everyday family vehicle, just what you would expect, right? Bland, basic, boring. Until Polestar tuned it. Essentially, if you don't know, Volvo bought Polestar in late 2010s, I believe, and Polestar was a company that focused on tuning and EVs back then, right? And so when they acquired Polestar, they said, well, we're already doing crazy crap to our cars, right? The old V50, R-Design is already gone out the door, so we need a small wagon with big power. And they said, hey, Polestar, you're really good at small, efficient cars. Why don't you do this? And they came out with this blue beast. It is absolutely great. I've seen it, so many times, heard about it so many times, about how great it is on the track, about how fun they are to drive, about how forward the styling is. I mean, they still sell this today, the Polestar engineered version. You'll see blue with yellow accents. Just such a great, fantastic car. And like I said, Volvo is either the most boring of the boring, the most awesomest of the awesome with their V8s, or the most squeezing, what they can. And by the way, it wasn't just the V60. If we get rid of 2014 and we put C30, I believe they also, they had the Polestar C30. Now, this was never an official thing. Like, there was never an official C30 Polestar official, but they were testing out with it, and I believe a few of them were released as, like, a package, I believe. So, yeah, very cool car. If you get a C30, it's just amazing, right? This is going to be the last one. The Prius. Now, I know, all of you, you're holding your pitchforks up. Why would you put a Prius on this list? The Prius is the epitome of awesome. The Prius is terrible. Just because you have 2 of them doesn't mean you can approve your privilege. In fact, the Prius was already in my previously mentioned video, the Prius Persona series. So, what other Prius could there be? There's the Persona, and then what? Am I going to try and, sell you, the one with not stock rims is, its own package? If you dig really, really deep, I couldn't find it in the manual, but for a certain amount of time, specifically in 2012, on only the 3 model of the Prius, there was a sport package. And I saw one of these the other day driving to get Taco Bell. I was in Oregon. I had just gotten home from work, and I was going to pick up some Taco Bell for me and myself and I. And I was driving in my Prius, and then this other guy waved to me in his Prius. So I waved to him, right? Not a lot of Prius drivers in Oregon, as you can imagine. And then I looked down, and he had not stock wheels. And I'm like, well, that's kind of stupid for him to do. The Prius is not really super sporty, fun car. And you can tell because there's only 2 images of the actual car here. And yeah, so there's also this, which is just insane. This was another GS Sport CVT concept. But yeah. And then I looked at his badging for his Prius, and I saw Sport Hybrid. So I'm sitting there and I'm debating, did this guy just buy not stock wheels and then slap like a Honda Civic Type R sport badges underneath his hybrid Synergy Drive badge? And I looked it up, and for real, they made a sport edition of the Prius. And you know these yellow indicators? That was not aftermarket. Those are actually in the car. These wheels came with that car. Can you believe it? From Toyota, a sport model on a Prius. The Persona series was supposed to be the sport model, and it's what took over from then on, right? And yet I still cannot believe that they would come out with a sport model with such interesting rims and design and a custom badge. That was just ridiculous to me. Because remember, the Prius at this point, this kind of just shows you, the Prius was carrying all of Toyota hybrids, right? The Prius was the first Toyota hybrid, so when people wanted to buy a hybrid, they wanted something familiar, and they didn't want one of Toyota's alternatives, at least in 2012, right? And, I made an entire video on the 2016 Prius and how that was different and more sporty and cooler, just because the weight was off the Prius's shoulders, this weird spaceship-looking guy, and yet it still blows my mind that Toyota would have the guts to come out with a Prius sport thing, right? And this isn't something like the LFA. This is nowhere near an LFA, but you know what I mean? Like where Toyota throws caution to the wind and comes up with something random. It's not like that because they couldn't get that much from it, I'm surprised Toyota thought there was a big enough market for a sport, people wanting a sporty Prius to not only make one, but two within the same generation. Blows my mind. So with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys very soon.